It is so nice to Village Vice. He is Zach Blackerby. I'm Brad Law. Thanks very much. A brand new week of shows here. There's plenty we haven't talked about since our last show, and we're glad that you're here. First, though, Zach, everybody likes to talk game times, and we found out today, just a little while ago, the windows for Auburn's remaining football games in 2024. Only one other definite time, but windows anyway. So that's a step in the right direction.
Yeah, can do some partial planning, I guess. And we'll see what changes as we get closer to these game times. But look, any more details we can get about this upcoming football season, I'm all for.
No question. And that's how we're going to start. We'll kind of lay out the process, and it's in the release and you've read it. But this is just kind of as a refresher for those just watching the show. What the league did was assigned a specific game window, and there are 4 windows: early, afternoon, night, or flex. The early games are between 11 o'clock and noon Central. The afternoon games are between 2:30 and 3:30 Central. Night games between 5 and 7. And then the flex games are either afternoon or night. So any time between, it could be an afternoon game, it could be a night game. And I think what the objective here is to try to do what the NCAA tournament does, and that is stagger your start times so that you stagger your end times as well, and you have more compelling games as one ends. Maybe now this other one is 7 minutes to go or starting the fourth quarter, and so you're going to see some different game times than we've seen in the past.
Yeah.
All right. With that in mind, here we go. There was only one other specific time that was announced, and that was the ULM game, which is going to start at 11:45 Central on November 16th. Everything else is a window.
Okay.
All right. Ready for the windows?
Yes.
All right. You want to take these one at a time, or let me give you a couple and then you go from there?
Let's just go one at a time.
All right, one at a time here. So we already know the first 3. The fourth game, Arkansas at home, is a flex. So it will either be an afternoon game or a night game.
Think that benefits Auburn? Think it benefits Auburn regardless if it's in the afternoon or evening, as long as that one's not a morning one. Because, I mean, that's not an appealing game from a conference-wide perspective.
Yeah.
Of Auburn and Arkansas. So the fact that the home team is going to be able to benefit from either being in the afternoon or especially during here at night, I think that's good for Auburn.
Here's the one that people have speculated, they've wondered about, and they're disappointed with this, I'm sure, because they wanted Oklahoma to be a night game, and it's not a night game. It is an afternoon game. So that game will start between, it'll either be 2:30 or 3:30 in the afternoon.
Okay. Yeah. And that's kind of what we expected, because that's the same week that Bama plays Georgia, if I recall correctly. So that makes sense. That one's not going to get that prime time treatment, and it probably shouldn't over Alabama and Georgia. But I remember when we were going through this right after the schedule was announced, it's like, please don't be a morning game, because it's Auburn and Oklahoma. It's the first time you're hosting Oklahoma. This is a big deal, borderline historic. So the fact that it's in the afternoon, I think we should take that.
Yeah, better than I was a little worried that maybe it would follow game day, because it is, without question, it's a marquee game. And if Auburn's 4-0 going into that game, Oklahoma's coming off their first SEC game at home against Tennessee, it is a marquee game. I was hoping, a lot of other Auburn fans were hoping, that this would be a night game and share the primetime slot with Georgia and Alabama. If they're staggering game times, you could start one of those at 7, one at 6, or another at 6:30 or what have you. But that is not the way that's going to be. So Oklahoma's an afternoon game. The game at Georgia is a flex. It will not be a morning game, unfortunately. That is somewhere between 2:30 and 7, either an afternoon or a night game for Georgia. At Missouri, however, Zach, is an early game, and that benefits the road team.
Typically, and Auburn will be coming off of a bye week too, so hopefully plenty of time to prepare as Auburn travels to Columbia to take on Missouri. And we'll see what happens when they go to Athens. And I mean, I'm not expecting that to go Auburn's way, so you get an off week, and then you kind of get the time to rebuild, reassess, and say, okay, can we probably. Yeah, I think for what will probably be the biggest game left on Auburn's schedule outside of the Iron Bowl. It's like, okay, can you make something happen on the road against Missouri?
Yep, and be ready to go early in that one. Now, what I like, the Kentucky game is a night game. Back-to-back road games without the bye week in between. But I like the idea, and this is, this is small. I don't know that this makes a difference between a championship season and not, but I do like the fact that you have an early game the week before. Auburn's not going to get home terribly late Saturday night. They're going to play a night game the following week at Kentucky. So there's your full possible recovery period from a morning game in Columbia to a night game in Lexington. Again, that's not worth 40 points or anything, but I do like the dynamic back-to-back road games.
Yeah, and how hostile can a Kentucky environment be? If you look at the 4 big road games that Auburn's going to play at Georgia, at Missouri, at Kentucky, and at Bama, I think the atmosphere of Kentucky is probably the weakest of those 4. No disrespect to Lexington, but I just think that's how it is right now. So we'll see how big of a deal that one is at night. Of course, I want to play road games as early in the day as possible. So not ideal, but it'll be fun to see how up Lexington gets for this game.
Well, and at that point in the year, Kentucky will have played Georgia. They will have played Ole Miss in Oxford, then a bye week, then Vandy at home, and then they will have come back to Lexington after playing at Florida. So the game in Lexington against Auburn is sandwiched between games at Florida and Tennessee. So where are they in their season at that point? And are they ready to turn the page toward basketball? Because that's October 26th. So, they could be ready to turn the page there.
Probably the game I've moved the most on. When the schedule came out, I looked at that one as, man, that'd be really great if Auburn won it. And now I'm almost going to be disappointed if Auburn doesn't win that game.
I agree. I'm
really
in the same
moved
boat.
on it.
Yeah. All right, now let's get into November. Now we have Vanderbilt back at home. That is an early start. So Vanderbilt, an early game, then a bye week, and then ULM at 11:45. Those are the only 2 home games that will be early starts on the 2024 schedule. And I think that is worth celebrating.
I think so too. I mean, they owed us something, not giving us a home game in October. They owed us something.
So, the early home games are at least afternoon or night. So Vandy, ULM are both early games. We know ULM's 11:45. And then the last 2 games, Texas A&M at home and then at Alabama, are both flex games. So somewhere between 2:30 and 7 starts for both of those. And I think you want both of those to be, closer to prime time.
Yeah, I think that Auburn Texas A&M game is so big. It's so big for both teams. Just talked to a few folks that cover the Aggies, and they feel the same way, especially with, how is this first season under Elko gone up to that point? For whichever team, whether it's Auburn or Texas A&M, if they want to overachieve this season, both teams have to win that game. They have to. And we all have memories of, I've got a picture of Tank and Caddy running next to each other on this wall. It's if it's the later that game is, the more I think Auburn fans will try to recreate what happened that night, and that'd be that's a win for Auburn.
Texas A&M was a big game in 2017 for Auburn. It kind of launched the way they finished that year. It was huge in 2013. It was kind of the game where they announced that they were back. Even the game in 2012, as bad as it was like all right, the wheels are totally off. Like, that game has been an indicator so many times.
Yeah.
And think it's an important one again this year. So I like the fact
that 2014 was big too, for the wrong reasons. It kind of just derailed everything.
Yeah.
Cameron Artis-Payne's got 10 fingers on the ball, and they said that he didn't have possession. It's insane. It's insane.
You fall behind. You have the missed field goal go the other way at the end of the first half.
Yeah.
You got no real right to come back and win that game, and yet it's right there within your grasp. And that was the real, that's the game that made the huge difference. That's the killer in 14, because if you're able to come back from the Mississippi State game where you turn it over like 3 times in the first 2 minutes, all right, you're back on track. So anyway, all right, we digress.
That one hurts.
Yeah.
That one hurts. Yeah.
In other words, it's an important game, and it always has been.
Always has been.
All right. I'll tell you what is the brand new MVP of your closet, and that's Roback. Let me tell you, can you imagine, Zach? Can you imagine playing golf? I'm glad you picked up on that. In anything other than a Roback. Now, they have really fun prints on their polos. You can check those out. If you go, you know what, I'm just not a crazy, zany print kind of guy. They don't just have those. They have the more standard, kind of relaxed design as well. But the most important thing is they fit so perfectly. They're very light. And it's not just for playing golf. It's anything. And it's not just polos either. They have T-shirts. They have hoodies. They have quarter zips. They have shorts. And right now they have everything at 20% off at roback.com, RHOBACK.com. Use our promo code VICE20. VICE20 is the promo code at checkout, and you'll get 20% off, all because you watch Village Vice. Before we move on to the next topic?
Sure.
All right. I want to say thank you to the Birmingham War Eagle Club. They had me up Monday this week to speak. A phenomenal group. I was there about 2 hours, start to finish. They made me feel like I'd never missed a meeting. There was a man there who was making his first trip back to the club since beginning cancer treatments. Phenomenal. Just a man who knows everything there is to know about Auburn basketball. There was a man there who walked onto the team under Coach Dye and told some really engaging, funny stories about that experience. It's a wonderful club, the Birmingham War Eagle Club. And a few of them said, hey, we watch your YouTube show and we really enjoy Village Vice. And so I just wanted to say thank you guys for watching, and thanks for having me up Monday. It was a great time.
That's awesome. That sounds great. That sounds great. And I'm sure they're very excited with the news of Auburn adding another offensive lineman, Broderick Scholl. And really, he's ranked all over the place. We're going to go where he's highest, which is on 3. If he stays at the current spot he's at on 3, he'll be a 5-star. And just a spectacular player, the top player in Oklahoma, according to most recruiting services. And just a guy who this staff located early, made him feel like he was a priority. And what's so crazy about this staff is I thought, okay, after they got Tavares Dice and Carde Smith, these two, like, what we thought were going to be the bookend tackles for this class, like, oh, man, okay, they must not feel good about some of these other tackles that they're pursuing. Say, no, we're going to get more than 2. We're going to get at least 3 elite SEC caliber offensive tackles, which is just insane, Brad. I mean, we just haven't ever really felt this type of offensive line recruiting in a very long time.
Yeah, no, you're right. And we've got some numbers to back that up. I think personally, you have to have big numbers of offensive linemen and defensive linemen in every class. Maybe for different reasons. The defensive linemen, you want to truly rotate more guys than you'd probably rotate on the offensive line. But the miss rate for offensive linemen, I think, and so, the importance of getting multiple guys in the class, it provides depth. It gives you a little bit of a safety net. And if guys don't really mature into to what you think they can be, you're okay, because you're not just bringing 1 or 2 guys in your class.
100%. And it gives you those guys, it gives them the opportunity to scoot inside instead of scooting outside. And so you'd rather have too many tackles, because tackles can play guard. You don't really want guards scooting outside to play tackle. But, Ty Buster is a guard that they really, really like. Spencer Dowling is another guy who was here this past weekend. They've just got a bunch of guys in this class that can play. They can flat out play, and they don't appear to be done on the offensive line either. So this, I don't know, man. This staff is just really getting after it. We haven't really seen anything like this before.
We haven't. The last time Auburn signed 5 offensive linemen in a recruiting class was 2020. I'm actually a little surprised it was that recent.
Do you have who those guys were?
It feels like it's been longer than that. I had them just a second ago, and if you will give me, I'll tell you what. Why don't you tell our friends
about my bookie?
And as soon as you do that, I'll have that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. My bookie, look, we've all been in a situation where we're excited to go to the casino for the weekend, and stuff just pops up and you end up not being able to make it. But look, if you just go to mybookie.ag, they've got, of course, they've got their awesome sports book, but also they've got a virtual casino. It's like you're in Vegas, but instead you're on your couch or in your office or wherever you want to be, over at MyBookie. So be sure to check it out. Use promo code next round. You'll get some exclusive stuff offered your way when you use that promo code next round. That also lets them know that we sent you. We really appreciate that. But seriously, check them all out. They've got so much stuff over at MyBookie.
All right, in 2020, the 5 offensive linemen that Auburn signed were Killian Zierer, Brendan Coffey, Jeremiah Wright, Tate Johnson, Avery Jernigan, and then they got Brandon Council in the portal. So they brought in 6 offensive linemen in the 20 class. 5 of them, I guess 3 from high school, and then a couple others that were transfers.
It's wild that 2 of those guys are still here from the high school ranks.
How about that? Wild. 2020 class that I guess right before COVID became a thing.
In my brain, Jeremiah Wright is so much older than Tate Johnson. I don't know why I feel that way, but that's just how that's just in my brain. Seems like Jeremiah Wright's way older than Tate. I don't know why.
Listen, in my mind, when I talk to Jeremiah, he's 30. He's, he feels like he's been here a while, and a while longer than he actually has. This is I love the size of these guys, and this is what Hugh Freeze and company have done. All right, with their offensive line recruiting specifically. Okay, 23, their first class. They brought in 5 in the class plus 5 other transfers. 10 new offensive linemen.
Right.
The 24 class had 3 signees and 2 other transfers. So they've added 5 new offensive linemen since last year ended. And then already we talked, they've got 5 commits in the 25 class. That's 20 new offensive linemen since Hugh Freeze came on board. By comparison, and this isn't trash talk. This isn't running anybody down. This isn't
read a fact.
This isn't an anonymous source saying this, that, or the other. These are the hard numbers from the signing classes for Brian Harsin and his staff. They signed 1 offensive lineman in the 22 class. They got no transfers. They signed 2 offensive linemen in the 21 class and got no transfers. That staff signed 3 total offensive linemen in 2 years. You ain't winning in the SEC by bringing in 3 offensive linemen in 2 years.
No.
That just ain't it. So it doesn't matter what formula. It doesn't matter how disciplined you are, how hard you work, how strictly you keep to a schedule, how much you want to win. You don't win by bringing in 3 offensive linemen in 2 years. Period.
And it doesn't matter what you have on the roster either, which I'm sure is what he would say. I'm sure he'd be like, well, it didn't really make sense with our roster management or whatever. It's like, it doesn't matter. It does not matter. You just need to keep having that going, or you're going to run into a problem, which is what we did. And thank God the portal is a thing now, or I don't know what we would have done on the offensive line, particularly 2 years ago. But all in all, they figured it out. So yeah, it's just an incredible pivot with what this staff has done. I mean, just things right now are good. I mean, it just feels like things are moving in the right direction. There are so many guys that are committed elsewhere that we think Auburn has a real shot of flipping, including the number 1 quarterback in the class. There's guys that are committed to schools all over the country, guys that are committed to Ohio State, guys that are committed to Michigan, guys that are committed to Alabama, to Miami. And Auburn's got a shot with flipping all of these guys. And some of these kids, there's, crystal balls or predictions, whatever these different outlets call their, predictions, that Auburn is going to flip these guys. And it's just a new era, man. It's a new era. When you hired Hugh Freeze, this is kind of what you hoped would happen. and we're starting to see it. And it's fun. It's really, really fun.
I think this coaching staff is confident about where it is in recruiting too, and they don't mind telling you that when given the opportunity. And I think that's worth noting, because this is not a staff that said rah rah 12-0 first year, second year. Like they've been very direct, very upfront about what they, the progress the team is making. And when they talk recruiting, they talk with a higher degree of confidence than they talk about what's currently happening on the field. And that's to be expected. It takes time to build things into that place. And I think in time, you'll hear them talk about what's actually on the field the same way, or with the same confidence that they're talking about recruiting right now. That's the product of recruiting so well.
That's right. That's right. So a lot of good things, Brad. A lot of good things. I think that about does it for today's show.
It does. Thanks, everybody, for watching and commenting and subscribing. And remember, until next time, everybody has vices. Make sure Village Vice is one of yours.